very first legitimate first-person shooter that I played was RoboCop 3 on the Amiga. It came out in 1992. It had legitimate FPS sections. It also featured driving, flying, and first-person hand-to-hand combat simulations. All in 3D, non-textured polygons. It was very cool, very ambitious. Also, the whole thing was tied together with a storyline. And yeah, that's where FPS began for me in 1992. Not long after that, a year or two later, I began playing Wolfenstein 3D, and then Doom, and Rise of the Triad, and Blakestone, the original System Shock, a great game called The Terminator Future Shock, and there were plenty more all through the 90s. I still have my copy of Call of Duty in the original box, and the same with Half-Life 2, I have it in the Collector's Edition box with the t-shirt inside. It also forced me to sign up to Steam with the dial-up modem, so I've been on Steam since it was originally released. And of course there have been others that I've played since. But first-person shooters for me these days, the last few years, have all been about multiplayer. I've been through countless single-player campaigns. I've seen the same thing over and over and over again. Some had excellent storylines, and the original Call of Duty and Half-Life 2 were some of the best that I've played through, purely in terms of the storyline and experience. But these days, with the majority of single-player experiences in first-person shooters, I have zero interest, because there's no challenge there and there's no surprise for me. I don't want to be led down corridors repeatedly, held by the hand, and not given a challenge. It needs to be difficult. I want to be confused at some point. I want to be thinking, how the fuck do I get out of this? How do I solve this? And for the most part, I'm really not into cinematic scenes. They tend to reach B-grade level at best. Compared to actual cinema, I'd actually rather go to a cinema and watch a movie than see a shitty cutscene in a game. I always just want to get back to the gameplay. There are those amazing standout scenes from games like the first Call of Duty where, for example, you're in the Russian army and you're lining up and you're being given your ammunition and your weapons. But because they were so short on equipment, they'd give one soldier a gun and the next soldier some ammunition. And when one of them got killed, the other had to pick up their friend's item so that they could actually fight. And apparently that was based on real events. And that's pretty impressive to experience in a game. But this kind of thing doesn't come up much. But anyway, you're watching Brutal Doom in the background here. This is a mod of the original Doom engine. And I actually find this to be a better first-person single-player experience than any other modern shooter that I can think of. And I'm honestly saying that. I really get a lot more out of this. It's not just the basic mechanics, which are fantastic, and they work even better with a bit of polishing and the addition of a few more modern features in this mod. But it's also a kind of memory game. You're like a rat in a maze. You've got to run around and find keys to open doors. That concept is very simple. But when you're running low on health and ammo, and you can't remember where that door is, or you can't find that fucking key, you actually have to focus and concentrate a bit and work. And what I like to do is turn the difficulty settings up to the point where I can barely finish a level. I need to make sure that I'm really having trouble. And there's not much storyline to speak of, but it communicates on a different level with sheer violence and the colour and the composition of the levels, the remains of other people and monsters. It's a really visceral level of communication, and Brutal Doom just makes that even more extreme. It takes it to its kind of most logical conclusion. You got the feeling with the original game that it just didn't give a fuck, and this mod absolutely does not either. You're given this free ticket to be as extreme and violent as you like, and you're encouraged to be as violent as possible because you're fighting against the spawn of hell. You know, in movies they always set up the bad guy and make sure that you watch them doing something horrible to other people so that they can justify violence against the bad guy. You can do whatever horrible shit you want to someone in a movie as long as it's for revenge. Basically, if you're the first one to start shit, you're the bad guy, and if you can enact revenge and tear the bad guy to pieces and make them suffer horribly, then you're the hero. And if the violence is going to be committed against demons from hell, it's just open season, and you just go for it. It's almost like self-defense. and you feel like this game respects you as a player. It doesn't try to dumb anything down, it doesn't make anything easy. It just trusts you that you're an adult, that you have control over yourself, that you can see something like this and you'll be fine, you'll be absolutely okay. You don't give a fuck, they don't give a fuck, let's just have fun. Now, back to what I was originally talking about. After all these experiences I've had in gaming in first-person shooters, the excellent storylines, the gameplay, the things I've done and seen in gaming over decades, why would I have the slightest motivation to play the latest Call of Duty when it doesn't even treat me like an adult, where I barely feel like a being with agency? I feel like something being funneled down a path and held by the hand. For me, the real challenges and the real experiences are with other human beings in a game. They're completely unpredictable, they're endlessly complicated, and as you try to get into their mind and see what they're thinking, they're doing the same thing back to you. Compared to that, an AI companion in a modern first-person shooter, it's just nothing. It's just moving pixels on a screen. Especially if it's an unbelievable bullshit character that I really don't feel any connection with. I just don't engage. I don't feel engaged. And I'm not saying that I never want to see AI again or storylines in games. I'm absolutely not saying that. I'm just saying that these days, for the most part, it does nothing for me unless it's really something special. And for the most part, I'd rather go back to something completely unsanitized, uncensored, something that respects me as a player, like Brutal Doom.